Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SimNFL show. Real talk about fake sports. I am your host and commissioner. You can call me Pierce. Today we are covering all of the Week 2 action of the 2026 regular season over at SimSN. If you're unfamiliar, come check us out on the website and on Discord. We would love to have you. So today we're going to kick things off as usual with all the stats and summaries from the Week 2 games. We will end with my choices for the players of the week. We will do a quick injury update, for real this time, I didn't forget. And then our feature today is a rookie stock watch. I'll be looking at a lot of our first round rookies and a couple bonus names and saying whether I am buying, holding, or selling in terms of how I think their stock will improve based on what we've seen in the first two regular season games. Should be a good time. And then we will look ahead to Week 3 and see the top games in each time slot as we await the next series of games. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. First game I want to cover today was a close game between the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens, with the Dolphins coming out ahead 31-24. This was a great battle of an experienced quarterback in Dean Hammonds, the reigning league MVP from 2025, and then the hot rookie sensation, Brandon Savage, with both of them performing very well. Admittedly, the first drive for the Ravens did not go great. They went backward with a sack and a holding penalty on their very first drive. And then after a good punt return, Miami started the ball on the Baltimore 37-yard line. Hammonds promptly hit Kenny White for 22 yards on a 3rd and 12. They connected again for a 3-yard touchdown to open the scoring for Miami. Later in the first, Hammonds got his second touchdown, this one to Arden Ejiofor for 9 yards, making it a 14-0 lead. Baltimore would cut into that in the second quarter with Savage finding Andrew Jones for 3 big gains on a drive, 14, 16, and then a 23-yard touchdown to cut the lead to 7. In the third quarter, they got even closer with Savage finding Dale Murphy for a 44-yard gain, then another touchdown to Jones, this one from 27 out. That made it 17-14, the Dolphins still leading. Still in the third, Savage took control again. Jones for 19. He hit his tight end, Charles Tice, for 19. Jones again, and then Tice again for a 7-yard touchdown, putting Baltimore in front for the first time, 21-17. But Miami quickly responded, going 75 yards in 11 plays. Key play there, Hammonds finding his tight end, Jaime Ramirez, for a 12-yard gain on a 3rd and 11 to convert. He found him again for 24 later in the drive, and then passed for a 7-yard touchdown to Lawrence Sanders, Hammond's third touchdown pass, giving the Dolphins back the lead 24-21. It was tied at 24 in the fourth quarter when Hammonds found Ramirez again. A 22-yard gain to convert a 2nd and 21. And then it was Ryan Bowman who ran it in from 19 yards out to give the Dolphins the lead 31-24. With 6:25 to go, Savage threw his first and only interception to William Redmond. Looks like that might be the end of things as Miami drove to the Ravens' 16-yard line looking for the dagger. But Juan Vega intercepted Hammonds in the red zone, and the Ravens got the ball back, still within striking distance. Savage hits Dedrick Smith for a 24-yard gain, but then a sack and a false start conspire to force a 3rd and 23, which they were unable to convert, and with 2:12 to go, just outside the window for going for it, they punt. Miami then gets 2 first downs on their final drive to run out the clock and preserve the close 31-24 win. Both quarterbacks were fantastic. As I said, Hammonds, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Brandon Savage, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hammonds in particular, he dropped back 11 times on 3rd downs. He took 1 sack, but otherwise was 8 for 10, with 7 of those completions going for first downs, including 2 touchdowns. So fantastic performance. Great days from Kenny White and Andrew Jones as well. Got to call out Jeffrey Jesse as well for all 6 of his tackles being behind the line of scrimmage. Ultimately, it is the Dolphins who escape with the win in this one. Another big AFC game this week was between the Browns and the Colts, with the Colts coming out ahead by 6. Gregory Taphorn started things off with a 44-yard run on just the second play of the game. That drive fizzled and only led to a short Colts punt. Later, another big chunk play, Taphorn finding Danny Ellswick for a 51-yard pass to convert a 3rd and 14. Got them into the red zone, but then Taphorn threw an interception to Colton Hayes at the Cleveland 18-yard line. So Colts still could not come away with any points. And then on a drive later in the first quarter, Robert Davis had a 41-yard punt return, which led to a touchdown pass from Enku to William Mass from 14 yards out. So it was actually the Browns who took the first lead in this one. Colts finally got on the board in the second quarter. Taphorn, another big play to Enrique Rodriguez for a 39-yard gain, and then a touchdown pass to Donald Loving, with the extra point tying the game at 7. Later in the second, a 64-yard Taphorn run got the Colts in range for a 29-yard field goal, but Glenn Brandt missed, so still tied at 7. Browns got the ball. Enku threw an immediate interception to linebacker Jay Vernon. Colts got in range for another field goal, which again missed. This from 34 yards out. So the game was still tied at that point. Yet somehow, right before half, the Colts barely get into range, and Brandt somehow nails a 56-yarder. As time expires in the first, Colts take the lead 10-7. In the third quarter now, Enku hits Mass again for 36 yards, and then Travis Cole runs it in from 10 yards out to give the Browns the 14-10 lead. Into the fourth quarter, Taphorn a 25-yard completion to Ellswick, and then Taphorn running it in himself from 6 yards out. That made the score 20-17 in the Colts' favor at that point. Enku then threw his second interception, this one to Thomas Chiardi. That gave the Colts a field goal. And then the Colts with the ball in the fourth quarter looked like they were converting a 3rd and 10 with a 14-yard completion. But that was wiped out by an offensive holding call, and a very short punt and a good return set the Browns up at the Colt 37-yard line, needing a touchdown to take the lead. 3 plays, lost 2 yards, and then with 4:51 still on the clock, the Browns punted for 4th and 12. The Colts then held the ball for 12 plays. They went 3 for 3 on third downs. They gained 4 first downs in total, running off the last of those 5 minutes and preserving the win. Taphorn 241 yards passing with a touchdown, 157 yards rushing with a touchdown. Ellswick over 100 yards receiving. Cesare Moulton with 3 tackles for loss on the day as the Colts come away with the big AFC victory. Bengals and Bills met in yet another AFC clash, with the Bills coming out on top 20-17. This is the second consecutive week that the Bengals blew a 17-point lead. They were up 17-0 on Kansas City, and at one point in this game, up 20-3. The Bengals' very first drive got all the way to the Buffalo 38 before they were forced to punt. That punt was then blocked. Buffalo unable to take advantage. Asensio was sacked twice, then threw an interception to Dilip Tran, and that led to the first points of the game on a Bengals field goal. Later in the first, Bengals went 52 yards in 10 plays. Pat Smith ran it in from 4 yards out for a 10-point lead. Then in the third quarter, they extended that lead, Frazier finding James Smith for a 37-yard gain, setting up David Taylor for a short 2-yard touchdown run, and that made it 20-3. Later in the third quarter, Bengals driving again, but they faced a 4th and 3 at midfield. Went for it, did not get it. Asensio hits Brian Adams for a 20-yard gain, and then Kaysen Reed for a 22-yard touchdown, bringing it to 20-10. In the fourth quarter, Frazier threw an interception to Alvin Anan. A deep ball basically amounted to an arm punt. Asensio gave it right back with an interception to Taylor Selby. And then Frazier immediately gave it back again, throwing an interception to Hugo Hernandez. And Hernandez returned that all the way to the Cincinnati 6-yard line. Asensio to Adams again, 6-yard touchdown, brought the Bills within 3. Frazier's first pass on the ensuing drive was another interception, his third of the fourth quarter. Hernandez picked that off again, Asensio capped that short drive off with a Joseph Jones touchdown pass. 2 yards out, taking the lead, 24-20. Then late in the fourth quarter, Brogdon broke off a 24-yard run. That got Buffalo in range for a 29-yard field goal with 2 minutes to go, 27-20. Frazier did make 2 big completions on that final drive, and then a roughing call gave them an additional 15 yards. They got all the way to the Buffalo 19-yard line, but needing a touchdown, their final pass with 3 seconds left fell incomplete, and the Bengals came back to win. Asensio, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns, including 109 yards and a score to Bryan Adams. Hugo Hernandez and Alvin Anand with 2 interceptions each. Hernandez with 2 interceptions, Anand with 1, but all of them coming in the fourth quarter as the Bills come back and win. In one of the wildest endings we've ever seen in the Pro Sim, the Eagles somehow pulled off a miracle to beat the Jets, 41-37. This game featured a Nick Suarez fumble on the second play. Eagles scored in just 2 plays from there. Poole hitting tight end Matthew Lee from 5 yards out for the early touchdown and the early lead. The Jets drove to get a field goal. Eagles went 3 and out, and then the Jets drove 79 yards for the touchdown. Noel hitting Nick Suarez on a 21-yard pass, making it 10-7. But later the Eagles would come back to take the lead. Poole finding Ronald Spencer for a 14-yard touchdown. 17-10 was the score at that point. The Jets responded, going 79 yards in only 6 plays, ending with a Noel 16-yard touchdown run to tie it at 17. Ronald Spencer then pulled off a 56-yard run on the triple option, but failed to get points after Poole threw an interception to Mike Burpee, and that meant it was still tied at 17 at the half. On the third quarter, Eagles returned the ensuing kickoff to the Jet 40-yard line. 5 plays later, Poole to Rashawn Alsadek, 5-yard touchdown pass. Eagles back on top. Next Eagles drive, they drove to the Jets' 33-yard line. Could not get points out of it, though. Jets responded in 12 plays, from taking over from there. Noel, a 28-yard run, and then a 2-yard touchdown pass to Will Huber, tying it at 24. Philadelphia came back. Alsadek, 20-yard run. Poole, third down completions for 15 yards to Spencer and 17 yards to Ricardo Silva. That drive ended with a Badgley 6-yard touchdown run, 31-24 Eagles at that point. In the fourth quarter, Noel threw an interception to Nate Simeon, and then Poole found Spencer for a 20-yard gain, and then additional 15 on roughing the passer penalty. Philadelphia would get a field goal out of that to extend their lead to 10. Later, Jesse Noel found his fullback, Michael Elias, for 32 yards, Will Huber for another 14, and then Suarez carried it in from 10 yards out to make it 34-31. Then after a trade of punts, the Jets took over on their old 19-yard line with 1:59 to go. Noel hit Will Huber for a 47-yard gain, and then completed 4 more straight passes, including an 8-yard touchdown to Nick Suarez, Suarez's 3rd score of the game. They missed the extra point, but that made it 37-34, Jets on top with 25 seconds to go. But they kicked it deep, and Leonard Vaughn immediately returned the ensuing kickoff 94 yards for a touchdown, took it to the house, and somehow the Eagles still won. 41-37 is the final in that. So 2 lead changes in the final 30 seconds. Eagles coming up on top. Aaron Poole, 226 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 95 yards on the ground. Jesse Noel, 272 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air, 164 yards and a score on the ground. And then Nick Suarez, as we mentioned, 99 total yards and 3 scores for him. But the real hero was Leonard Vaughn. Not only put up 9 tackles, including 1 for loss on the defense, but had 153 kickoff return yards, including that dramatic final touchdown to win the game for the Eagles. The Texans and Buccaneers played in a matchup of young quarterbacks, with the Texans coming out ahead. In the second quarter, Nebel's first interception by Luis Wong was returned to the Texan 23-yard line. Kingery then hit Max Smith for 13 and Alfred Soiree for an 8-yard touchdown, and Tampa Bay got on the board first. Tampa Bay had the ball in the second, but James Taylor was hit in the backfield by Huey Enrique, fumbled, and the Texans recovered, turned that into a field goal to get on the board for the first time. Going now to the third quarter, on the first drive, Nebel hit completions of 14 yards to Matt Brown and then 20 to John Fernandez. And then Nebel ran it in from 7 yards out. That score would tie the game at 10. Then later in the third quarter, Nebel had his best showing of the game. He went 8 for 8 passing on a 14-play, 83-yard drive. Ultimately found his tight end Will Thomas for a 4-yard touchdown pass, making it 17-10. Nebel came back to earth in the fourth quarter. He threw 2 picks in the final period, but the defense bailed him out both times. The first time, the Buccaneers, 3 plays, lost 7 yards, and they had to punt. And then after the second interception, 3 plays gained 0 yards, and they had to punt again. So the defense bails out Nebel, and he gets the win despite throwing 4 interceptions. He did have a couple of touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air as well. Huey Enrique with a sack and that big forced fumble and 4 tackles for loss as well. Luis Wong for the Buccaneers, 3 of their 4 team interceptions on the day. The Chargers eked out a victory over the New England Patriots. 17-16 was the final. An early Oliveros interception by Razul Miller gave the Chargers the ball on the Patriot 15-yard line. 3 plays later, Aguilera found Richard McGuire for a short touchdown pass and the early lead. In the second quarter now, New England got a first down after what was a failed 3rd and 3, but a defensive holding call gave them a first down. Oliveros hit a screen from Gregory Sellers for 25 yards. And then they ran 5 consecutive run plays to get the final 26 yards of that drive. Rashard Ward getting the final 4 with a touchdown and tying it at 7. Then Aguilera hit Raymond Sanchez for 12 yards and Edwin Garcia for 22 on the next drive. That set up a 51-yard field goal just before the half, and the Chargers were up 10-7. Going to the third now, Rashard Ward for the Patriots had a nice 28-yard run that set up Gregory Sellers for a 15-yard touchdown run. The Patriots would miss the extra point, so they were up 13-10 there. Then later, Oliveros would hit Ward on a 34-yard screen pass, but they would only get a field goal attempt out of that drive, and they would miss the 30-yarder. So it was still 13-10 at that point. Going to the fourth, Aguilera hits Richard McGuire again, a 24-yard gain. And then Pedro Trevecchio had a 21-yard touchdown run to put the Chargers back on top by 4. But the Patriots weren't done. With 5:55 left, Sellers broke off a 56-yard run. That drive ended at the Chargers' 19-yard line. The Patriots were able to kick a field goal, but because of the earlier mixed extra point, that meant they were still down by 1. And then the Chargers took the ball and had an 8-play drive, which was aided by 2 defensive penalties, an offsides call that gave a first down via yardage, and then a defensive holding call, which was another automatic first. And the Chargers were able to burn the final 4 minutes off the clock and preserve the narrow 1-point victory. Aguilera, 158 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, 77 yards rushing. Oliveros had 101 yards passing, but a pick, and only 3 yards rushing on 3 carries. However, Gregory Sellers and Rashard Ward both had great days, running for over 70 yards and a touchdown each, and combined for 5 catches for another 63 yards. As for the rest of the Week 1 scoreboard, a couple of standout performances in a defensive New Orleans and Seattle Thursday night game. Saints defensive tackle Dwayne DePaula had 10 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss and a sack. But Seattle kicker Matthew Walker carried the day 5 for 5, including a long 48-yarder. Seattle won the battle of field goals 5-2, which is to say a final score of 15-6. Green Bay crushed Detroit 38-0, moving now to the Sunday games. Bay was 27 of 35, 316 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. The Giants got by the Chicago Bears, 28-9 was the final there. Giants scored 3 touchdowns in the final 13 minutes of game time to run away with what was, up until that point, a close game. Jonathan Perez, 258 total yards and 3 touchdowns for the Giants. Donald Dingus also showed up in a big way, defended a pass, and had 2 of the defense's 3 interceptions on the day. It was another great day for David Chop as he led Kansas City past Minnesota 37-3. Chop was 15 of 22 for 211 yards, also carried 11 times for 43 yards and a score. Chad Dolis had 2 touchdown runs for the Chiefs, and cornerback Benedict DeLuna intercepted 2 passes and returned a punt for a touchdown in this one. Tennessee beat the Vegas Raiders 22-9. Joseph Cale had 20 total touches for 133 yards. Vegas rookie Joel Campos did have a good game, 3 passes defended with an interception, but the Titans win this one. Denver started Rashawn Lyons against the Cardinals and led them to a 37-0 victory. Ryan Johnson had a good day against his old team, 17 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Thomas Gezik also had 2 of the team's 4 rushing touchdowns. Washington beat Dallas in a shootout, final score of 46-30. Morrison threw 66 passes, completing 45 for 485 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Dallas defender Eric Simons had 5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks in a losing effort. The Rams beat San Francisco 30-14. Avila 40 of 59, 423 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Scott Romero of the 49ers 13 of 29, 122 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. On Sunday night, Pittsburgh beat Jacksonville 37-10. Morris had 141 passing yards and a touchdown, also 75 rushing yards and a touchdown. And Danny Kipnis was phenomenal again. 19 carries, 181 yards, well over 9 yards a carry for him, and a rushing touchdown as well. Then on Monday night, Carolina beat their division rival Atlanta Falcons 25-9. Link 30 of 55, 384 yards, 2 scores. Kickers combined to go 7 for 7 in field goals, although Frank for Carolina did miss one of his extra points. But they won handily by 16 in that Monday night game. So that brings us to our players of the week. I've got to call out Joseph Garibay for a near flawless game, completing close to 75% of his passes, 316 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jesse Knoll, 3 touchdowns from him and over 400 combined yards on 35 pass attempts and 20 carries. Jonathan Perez, as I mentioned, over 200 yards on the ground and 2 scores, another 51 yards and a score receiving. And then Andrew Jones for the Ravens, 144 yards on 9 catches and a couple picks for him. We called out Eric Simon of Dallas with his 5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. Hugo Hernandez for 2 fourth-quarter interceptions to help the Bills complete their comeback. Luis Wong had 3 picks in their game, as well as 2 additional passes defended for the Bucs. And Benedict DeLuna, 2 interceptions and a punt return touchdown for Kansas City in their big win. So, congratulations to all those players being named my players of the week. Also want to call out Green Bay tight end Romick Phelps, 11 catches, 124 yards, and 2 scores for him as well. So here is how we see the injury update. Texans have had some bad luck of it so far with 4 guys on the list, including guard John Massey, out 4 weeks with a pulled bicep. Barry Madruga recently traded to the Jaguars from the Bengals, will be out. And then the big name here, Philip Nagel, who is a 79 overall, 32-year-old defensive tackle for the Broncos. Going to miss a major part of the season with that ACL injury, though he should be back by the latter half of the season. Wilton Longa with that biceps tear for the Giants, have a significant recovery. And then Timothy Garganis, who was injured, I believe, in preseason for the Cardinals, has not seen action all year and will miss a majority of the season with that PCL injury as well. So, our feature tonight is a rookie stock watch. As I've said, I'm going to go through most of the first round picks, including all of the top 10, and say whether I am in a buy or hold or a sell position on some of these young players. We know it can be tough to break into the starting lineup, even for a high pick. And we have a very small sample size, but hey, that never stops us from making wild assumptions. So we're going to go ahead and put these guys into one of these three buckets based on what we've seen so far. Starting with the number one overall pick, Scott Romero, for playing for the 49ers. We're going to put him in a hold. Some impressive passing numbers. 429 yards through 2 games on about 50% completions. Obviously, the kicker there, 5 interceptions to go along with just 1 touchdown. That's the big thing holding me back. But I think he will develop. I think he was a solid overall pick. And then the 49ers have lots of offensive weapons, a lot of former first-round picks on that offense to help build around him. Similarly with Kingery, a second overall pick, putting him as a hold for Tampa Bay. Again, about 50% completions. He did miss a good portion of his first game this season, injured in the second half. 17 of 35, 115 yards, 1 touchdown, 19 carries for 75 yards. Has had some good, solid flashes, plays with his arm and his legs. I like what I see. Again, I still think he's a great fit for the Bucs. Excited to see him develop. Third overall, we have Brandon Savage, who is solidly in the buy category for me. 41 of 76, 498 yards already, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Went toe-to-toe, throw for throw with Dean Hammonds. So I think he's a great acquisition. They do have a scheme change for air raid starting next week, which I think is going to hurt them a fair bit for a couple of weeks. But long-term, Savage is absolutely the real deal and has made a big impact on that franchise already. So I say buy in now if you haven't already. Fourth overall was Caleb Ryder for Arizona. I do like what he's doing. 17 tackles so far in 2 games, 6 tackles for loss, and a sack. Defensive tackles can definitely rack up the stats in our sim, but all the more reason that you'd expect a top 5 pick at that position to make a big splash early, and Ryder has done that. Fifth overall is Bonifacio, Cincinnati wide receiver. Can't put a great grade on that so far. Bonifacio has played 83 snaps. He has 5 targets and 2 catches for 15 yards. That is less catching and less receiving yards, fewer receiving yards than the team's 31-year-old power running back, and similar numbers to their second tight end, which is not what you want from a top 5 pick. I get he's the third, maybe even 4th option when you consider the tight end they have. But yeah, you got to make some plays. You got to get open. You got to make something happen. 83 snaps, 5 targets, 2 catches is not going to do it for a top 5 pick. At 6, we have Tony Sherman, putting him in the hold category for Detroit. 13 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Not a bad output for 2 games as a rookie. The only catch, those 13 catches coming on 25 targets. So not quite the catch ratio we would hope for from a pick this high, just above 50%. Not an immediate cause for concern, just something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. 7th overall, we have Dallas Denker for the Jets. 8 tackles, a single tackle for loss, a couple passes defended. Solid line from the rookie. 8th overall, Oliveros. Only 15 of 34, 152 yards, an interception. Passing numbers aren't that far off from Kingery, who I put in a hold, so I feel like I have to put Oliveros in a hold as well. Again, the F potential is an issue long term, but based on what I'm seeing for the first 2 weeks, it's not terrible. My biggest issue there, only 6 rushing attempts for 7 yards. So his legs were supposed to be the big feature for Oliveros coming out of college, has not had a chance to use that. We will see if that can be expanded at all, if Pats can give him more of an opportunity to make some plays with his legs. Number 9, Marcus Dade. We're putting that solidly in the buy category for Minnesota. Dade, 29 carries, 90 yards, and a score already in 2 games. But the big addition to that, 9 catches, 101 yards receiving through 2 games. I like what I am seeing there. Number 10, that's Jonathan Callahan for the Cowboys. Now, he hasn't played, so this may seem harsh to him. But you take a guy 10 overall, he's a 67 overall, he's sitting behind a 70 overall. The difference, Callahan's 23, the guy in front of him is 32. So if Callahan couldn't beat out a guy who's 9 years older in camp, I'm a little worried. Seems like you could pop him in there, get him some snaps. So for now, seeing 10th overall pick sitting on the bench, not what you like to see. 11th overall is Taylor Mortensen of the Colts. 135 snaps, 1 pancake. Sure. Yeah, run blocking guard. It's about the ratio we see from a lot of more developed veterans. So, yeah, I'll take that. 12th overall is Harrison Rodriguez. He of the 97 or 99 or 102, whatever speed. I know it's not actually over 100. 27 carries, 85 yards, a couple catches, 24. Yeah. It's fine. Sure. Okay. 13th overall pick, Blake LaFell. Come on, man. Do something. 133 snaps. No stats. No nothing. Where are you? Anyway, 14th overall, Drew Howell. Drew Howell does have some stats. He's allowed 2 sacks in 141 snaps. Not quite what we were looking for there. Jumping to 16 now, Tremaine Craig, power running back for the Lions. Love this. 80 yards on 19 carries, 50 yards on 4 catches through 2 games. Solid effort. We like to see that. Jarrell Campos of the Vegas Raiders, 6 tackles, 3 passes defended, and a pick in a couple games. We like that. Breaking up passes, minimal completions allowed. Excellent pick there. Similarly, Donald Dingus of the Giants, 19th overall pick, 5 tackles, pass defended, and 4 interceptions through 2 games. Definitely making a case for Defensive Rookie of the Year there. Dingus could end up looking like a steal at 19th overall. I mean, he is a ball hawk archetype. That is what they do. But hey, that's what you brought him in to do, and he's doing it. Great news. 21st overall pick, Phillip Adams of Kansas City. David Chop is revitalizing that offense, doing great things, putting up huge stats. Adams has been in 68 plays. He has 3 targets, 1 catch for 7 yards. Come on, man. Chop is out there. He's making plays. You got to help him make some. And that is all of the first rounders I'm covering today, but I do have 2 bonus buys to look at. First, 46th overall pick, Vernon Mack of Buffalo, was mocked in the top 10, maybe even top 5, fell all the way to the middle of the second round, but is playing like his initial draft stock suggested. 12 tackles so far, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 passes defended, stopping the run and the pass. It's what we like to see. Good job, Mack. And then finally, from the bottom of the second round, New England defensive tackle Keith Jackson, 8 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and he's sacked through 2 games. Again, that is what you like to see from a big guy in the middle of the field. Excellent pick, looks like so far, from the Patriots, grabbing this guy at 64 overall in the bottom of the second. So that's it for my rookie stock watch for this week. We'll check in a little bit later of the season and see if any of these stocks have risen or fallen based on how things have gone a little further into the year. And next week, in week 3, we're going to start things off with a Battle of New York, with the Jets getting a favorable road game as they travel to face the Giants in East Rutherford. Should be a great game for Thursday Night Football. We have a great slate of early games on Sunday, including Pittsburgh going to Green Bay to face the Packers, Indianapolis at Kansas City, David Chop looking to continue the Chiefs' winning ways, and then Philadelphia is going to Tennessee to face the 2-0 Titans, also in the early spot there. In the afternoon, we have Seattle at the LA Rams. First place on the line as these 2-0 teams face off in the afternoon slot. Sunday night, we get the Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers, a former LA team against a current LA team. Both of them 1-1 with a lot to play for, especially in a division contest. And speaking of, on Monday night, we renew the Battle of Ohio with Cincinnati going to Cleveland to face the Browns. And that rivalry picks up again here in the last game of Week 3. So a great slate. Excited to see what happens. Hope you'll stick around and check those games out. But that is all I have for this edition of the SimNFL show. Thank you so much for watching. And as I say to all users in all of our sims, good luck and have fun.